Understanding nested structures in object variables. In this section, we will explore the concept of nested structures within JSON objects. Understanding how to navigate these structures is crucial for effectively manipulating data in Power Automate. What are nested JSON structures? Nested structures are essential for organizing complex data hierarchies. Think of JSON as a way to represent data in a structured format where each piece of information can be related to others. For instance, consider a project management application where each project has a title, a manager, and a list of team members. This information can be represented in a nested JSON format. Here's a simple example to illustrate this concept. In this JSON object, project is the root, containing several properties. Details is another object nested within project, which itself contains more properties such as manager and team. This hierarchical structure helps us organize related data efficiently. Best practice. When working with complex JSON objects, it's always a good idea to validate the structure beforehand. This way, you can ensure that you're accessing the right properties without causing errors. Accessing nested properties in Power Automate. Now that we understand the structure, let's discuss how to access these nested properties in Power Automate. In Power Automate, we primarily use dot notation to access nested properties. For instance, if you want to access the manager of the project, you would use project.details.manager. This notation lets you drill down through the levels of your JSON object to retrieve specific values. However, when working with optional or nested properties, it's important to utilize the safe navigation operator ? This operator allows us to traverse the structure without causing errors if an intermediate property is missing or null. For example, if we want to access the manager using the safe navigation operator, we can write project details manager. Using the operator ensures that if details doesn't exist, the flow won't fail, but instead return null, allowing for a smoother execution. Best practice. When dealing with deeply nested data, always use the safe navigation operator to ensure your access paths are robust against missing data. Creating a sample JSON with nested properties. To reinforce our understanding, let's create a sample JSON object with nested properties. Consider this example. Here, we have an employee object that contains both direct properties, like name and position, and nested properties within the details object, which includes the department, supervisor, and an array of active projects. Additionally, the contract object contains more nested information. Best practice. Before accessing deeply nested properties, take the time to map out your JSON structure. This planning helps clarify how each property relates to others and will save you time and effort when retrieving data. Navigating to properties within nested objects. Once we've established our JSON structure, it's time to discuss how to access the data effectively. For instance, if we want to retrieve the name of the employee, we can use employee.name. To access the department within the nested details object, we write employee details.department. If we want to access the active projects array, we can use employee details.active projects. To access the renewal date from the contract object, we would write contract.renewalDate. Here, using the question mark operator can be beneficial when we're unsure if all the properties exist. For example, employee, details, supervisor. This expression allows us to safely access supervisor, as it will return null if either employee or details is missing. Best practice. Test property access by utilizing a compose action to output values before integrating them into your workflow. This approach allows you to debug and ensure you're referencing properties correctly. Handling nested arrays in JSON. Finally, let's touch on how to work with nested arrays. For instance, if we have the active projects array and we want to loop through its elements, We can use a for each loop in Power Automate. To access the first project in the array, we can refer to it as follows: employee.details.activeprojects, open bracket, 0 close bracket. This retrieves the first project, which is Project A in our example. Best practice: always validate the existence of an array and its length before attempting to access a specific index to avoid errors during flow execution. Best practices recap: use dot notation and the question mark operator to navigate nested JSON properties. Test property access with the compose action to verify your references. Plan for possible null values when dealing with deeply nested structures and optional properties. Always check array lengths before accessing specific indices. By understanding how to navigate and manipulate nested JSON structures in Power Automate, you can effectively handle complex data in your workflows. This knowledge will empower you to create more efficient and robust automations,